A flat six that screams to 9,000 RPM on titanium internals. Values now pushing past 200 grand for clean examples, and Porsche recalled every single one of them. The 991 GT3 engine was supposed to bury the Mezger legend. Instead, it wrote its own. Geneva, March 2013. The lights at the PAL Expo Convention Center cut through a silence you could feel in your chest. Porsche had draped something low and wide under a silk cover, and every camera in the room was already firing. Journalists leaned forward. Forum moderators were live posting from the front row. Every Porsche enthusiast with a Wi-Fi connection was watching the stream, waiting for the car that would carry the GT3 name into the next decade. When the sheet pulled back, the new 991 GT3 sat there looking like a weapon. Wider fenders, a massive rear wing, center lock wheels, rear axle steering for the first time on any GT3. But the spec sheet hit harder than the styling. No Mezger engine, no manual gearbox. The two things GT3 owners had worshipped for over a decade, gone in a single press conference. The reaction online was immediate and ruthless. The man behind that decision was Andreas Pruninger. He had been running the GT program since 2000, and by 2013, he had already delivered some of the most celebrated drivers' cars in Porsche history. Pruninger understood what the faithful wanted, maybe better than anyone at Stuttgart, but he also understood that the Mezger, for all its glory, was reaching its ceiling. That engine had roots stretching back to the 911 GT1 Le Mans car from 1998. It powered every GT3 and GT2 from the 996 through the 997, every turbo, every RS variant. The community gave it a name, the Mezger, after Hans Mezger, the engineer who shaped its original architecture. And by 2013, it had given everything it had: tightening emissions rules, rising production costs, and the aging architecture of its crankcase and valve train meant the Mezger could not go further without a complete rethink. If the GT3 was going to survive another generation, it needed a new heart. So Pruninger and his team built one from nearly scratch. The new 3.8-liter flat six carried an engine code, MA175, and shared almost nothing with the base Carrera S motor it was loosely derived from. Sure, the basic architecture was related, a water-cooled flat six with direct fuel injection, but that is where the family resemblance ended. The crankshaft was unique. The valve train was completely redesigned with a rigid rocker arm setup and DLC-coated cam followers to reduce friction at high RPM. Forged pistons rode on titanium connecting rods, the same material you find in Formula One engines, and the whole assembly was tuned to scream all the way to a 9,000 RPM redline. Dry sump lubrication with a separate oil tank kept everything fed under the most extreme cornering loads. Pay attention to those titanium rods. They matter later. The result was a 475 horsepower at 8,250 RPM, 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds, a Nürburgring Nordschleife lap in 7 minutes and 12.7 seconds with development driver Lars Kern at the wheel. On paper, this engine was everything the Mezger wished it could be. More power, higher revs, better emissions, lighter internals. But Pruninger made one more call that sent shockwaves through the community. PDK only. No manual option. He later explained the 991 platform was too complex to develop 2 gearboxes at launch. It was an engineering bandwidth problem, not a philosophical shift. But the forums did not care about bandwidth. They cared about a clutch pedal. Renless threads exploded. Piston heads lit up. The phrase that kept appearing everywhere was the same: "This is not a real GT3," and Pruninger heard every word of it. For a few months, the noise quieted down. Journalists who actually drove the car came back raving. The PDK shifted faster than any human could. The engine response was telepathic. Chris Harris called it one of the best cars on sale. Magazine reviewers were falling over each other with superlatives. The early criticism started to soften. Maybe Preuninger had been right all along. And then everything fell apart. February 2014, less than a year after the car launched, a 991 GT3 catches fire on a road in Italy. Weeks later, a second one burns in Switzerland. Both fires started the same way. The connecting rod bolts, manufactured by an outside supplier, had a production error in their alloy. Under sustained high-load conditions, those defective bolts loosened. When the bolts loosened, the connecting rod punched clean through the crankcase. Hot oil sprayed onto the exhaust system, and within seconds, the entire rear end of the car was on fire. Porsche pulled the emergency brake on the entire GT3 program. Every owner received a call telling them not to drive their car. Deliveries worldwide stopped. And then came the number that stunned the industry: 785. Every single 991 GT3 engine built up to that point would be pulled and replaced. Not repaired, replaced. Porsche did not try to spin this one. They owned it. 785 brand new engines, installed at no charge with a warranty extension to cover the next 12 months beyond the original term. How do you come back from that? You just recalled every engine in your flagship naturally aspirated sports car. The Mezger faithful are pointing and laughing. The car magazines are running fire photos on their covers. Your credibility with the hardcore audience, the exact people who buy GT3s, is in freefall. Even Richard Hammond, the Top Gear presenter, had his 991 GT3 recalled. He later joked about it, saying he was glad his car could have caught fire. Not everyone was laughing. Porsche came back the only way Preuninger knows how, with engineering. The connecting rod caps were redesigned from scratch. The bolt torque specifications were revised. Every affected car received a completely new factory-fresh engine. And then, once the dust settled, they did something nobody expected. In 2016, Porsche revealed the 911R, built on the same 991 platform, powered by the same engine family they had just recalled, but with one critical difference: a 6-speed manual gearbox and nothing else. No PDK option, manual or nothing. 500 horsepower, and only 991 units would ever be built. The number was not an accident. That car was Porsche saying in the loudest possible way that the flat six still had a future and the clutch pedal was coming home. The crowd went berserk. Speculators went even crazier. Within months, 911R allocations were flipping for double the sticker price. Within years, they would triple it. The car that proved the flat six still had life became one of the fastest appreciating Porsches in modern history. And Porsche was just getting started. In 2017, the facelifted 991.2 GT3 arrived at the Geneva Motor Show with the engine everyone had been waiting for. 4 liters of displacement, a bore of 102 millimeters, and a stroke of 81.5, with a compression ratio of 13.3 to 1. This was not the old 3.8 with a large bore. The 4.0-liter unit traced its bloodline directly to the 911 GT3R and Cup racing cars. 500 horsepower, a 9,000 RPM redline, and for the first time since the 997, a 6-speed manual gearbox was back on the options list. Preuninger later admitted that keeping the manual was always what he wanted as a driver. Good luck finding a Porsche fan who disagrees. The 991.2 GT3 was the car the 991.1 should have been from day one. The engine sounded angrier, the chassis was sharper, and the manual gearbox gave you back the one thing PDK could never replicate: the feeling of being part of the machine. Then came the RS. The 991.1 GT3 RS packed a 4.0-liter, making 500 horsepower. The 991.2 GT3 RS pushed that to 520, and even Kevin Estre put it around the Nürburgring Nordschleife in 6 minutes and 56.4 seconds. a naturally aspirated rear-engine sports car under 7 minutes on a production tire. Check your pulse if that number does not hit you somewhere. That made the 991.2 GT3 RS the fastest naturally aspirated production Porsche ever to lap the Nordschleife, a record that stood until the 992 generation arrived years later. And for the people who wanted the GT3 engine without the wing, Porsche introduced the Touring package. Same 4.0-liter, same 500 horsepower, same manual gearbox, but with a retractable spoiler instead of the fixed rear wing. Manual only. Rear seats available on request. Just 1,087 were built, almost as rare as the 911R itself. Across the full 991 generation, Porsche built over 25,000 GT3 variants, spanning the GT3, GT3 RS, 911R, and GT3 Touring. 4 distinct models, 2 engine displacements, 2 transmission options, and 1 shared DNA, a naturally aspirated flat 6 that revs to the sky and sounds like nothing else on the road. That is a dynasty, and every single one of them traces its lineage back to the engine that almost burned the whole program to the ground. Now, here is where the story gets wild for anyone paying attention to the market. In 2020, you could buy a 991 GT3 for around $105,000. Today, clean examples are pushing past $200,000. The GT3 RS sits between $170,000 and $314,000, depending on spec and mileage. The 911R, some have crossed $500,000 at auction, and the GT3 Touring, the quiet one with no wing and a stick shift, is tracking right behind the 911R in appreciation. These are not speculative numbers. These are real transactions, recorded at auction houses and dealer networks over the past 18 months. If you had the foresight to buy a 991 GT3 Touring in 2020 for $130,000, you are sitting on a car that has nearly doubled in value, and the trajectory is still pointing up. Tuners have pushed the 4.0-liter past 550 horsepower on bone stock internals. Track day regulars are stacking 50,000 miles on their odometers with no rebuilds. No bottom-end work, nothing but oil changes and valve adjustments. The engine that almost ended the GT3 program turned out to be one of the most durable, high-performance, naturally aspirated engines Porsche has ever produced. Porsche also backed the revised 991.1 engines with a fully transferable 10-year, 120,000-mile extended warranty. That kind of confidence from the factory tells you everything about how seriously they took the fix. And here is the part that still gets me. The titanium connecting rod, the exact component that caused 2 car fires, triggered a 785-unit recall, and nearly buried the 991 GT3 before it had a chance to prove itself. That same component, once Porsche fixed the cap design, is now the reason this engine survives abuse that would kill a conventional steel rod motor. The thing that was the greatest weakness became the greatest strength. That is not marketing. That is metallurgy with a redemption arc. The 991 GT3 engine arrived as the Mezger replacement nobody asked for. It left as the last golden age of naturally aspirated flat-six performance. Every generation since has been chasing what this engine delivered between 2013 and 2019, and the market knows it. The prices tell you everything, and the sound, that mechanical whale building from 6,000 to 9,000 RPM with nothing but air and fuel, tells you even more. There is no turbo whistle, no electric motor hum, just 6 cylinders breathing through a naturally aspirated intake and screaming toward a red line that most modern sports cars can only dream about. So here is the question. Was Porsche right to kill the Mezger for this engine, or should they have held on longer? Drop your take in the comments. Next time, we crack open the 992 GT3 engine and ask whether Porsche actually learned from the 991 disaster, or whether they made the same mistakes twice. Keep your revs high and your valves splayed. This is Dave from Porsche Pulse. Catch you later.